Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and today I have a quick, modest book haul for you. Okay, I just got 4 books that I recently got in the mail. I'm sharing with you, and if any of you have read any of these, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Okay, the first book is The Day the World Came to Town, 9/11 in Gander, Newfoundland. A colleague that I work with, he had talked about this book at one point, and I saw this. I think it was Book Outlet for a really cheap price, and he had spoken highly of it. Said he really liked it. I thought I would give it a shot. And this is when 38 jetliners bound for the United States were forced to land in Gander, Newfoundland on September 11th, 2001, due to the closing of U.S. airspace. The citizens of this small community and surrounding towns were called upon to care for the thousands of distraught travelers. Their response to this challenge was truly extraordinary. Oz Fudge, the town constable, searched all over Gander for a flight crew member so that he could give her a hug as a favor to her sister, who managed to reach him by phone. Itney Smith, hopefully I'm saying that right, an elementary school teacher, helped the passengers sheltered at her school fax letters to loved ones all over the world, and members of a local animal protection agency crawled into the cargo holds of the jets to feed and care for all the animals on the flights. These stories and hundreds more are beautifully rendered in The Day the World Came to Town, the true account of a community that exemplifies love, kindness, and generosity. So I think I'll save this for September to read that around then. But again, if you've read it, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. The next one is by Jill Lepore, The Mansion of Happiness, A History of Life and Death. I had read her book, I think it's called The Name of War, on King Philip's War, and I really liked it, and I know she's a well-known scholar. And this just sounded really intriguing. Says, how does life begin? What does it mean? What happens when we die? All anyone can do is ask, Lepore writes. That's why any history of ideas about life and death has to be, like this book, a history of curiosity. Lately, debates about life and death have determined the course of American politics. Each of these debates has a history, investigating the surprising origins of the stuff of everyday life. From board games to breast pumps, Jill Lepore argues that the age of discovery, Darwin, and the space age turned ideas about life on Earth topsy-turvy. New worlds were found, she writes, and old paradises were lost. As much a meditation on the present as an excavation of the past, the mansion of happiness is delightful, learned, and altogether beguiling. I don't really know what to expect of this. It's from Vintage Books, but it is a topic that interests me. How we've dealt with the idea of death in the past and up to the present, how it's influenced us. So it just sounded like a pretty fascinating read. The next book, very slim volume, but I got it really cheap. And that's The Lessons of History, okay, by Will and Ariel Durant. I've seen people on BookTube speak highly of Will Durant especially, but also the team here, especially the Civilization series. I do have a copy of The Story of Philosophy, which I haven't read yet. It's on my TBR, but this really slim volume, I thought, might as well give it a shot. It says, a concise survey of the culture and civilization of mankind, The Lessons of History is the result of a lifetime of research from Pulitzer Prize-winning historians Will and Ariel Durant. With their accessible compendium of philosophy and social progress, the Durants take us on a journey through history, exploring the possibilities and limitations of humanity over time. Juxtaposing the great lives, ideas, and accomplishments with cycles of war and conquest, the Durants reveal the towering themes of history and give meaning to our own. And this is an older book. This was originally published in 1968. But, I figured it's time to dive in and get my feet wet with this author. It's a collection of essays. And finally, this one I actually I already read. I read it this week right after I got it. And that is The Complete Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, edited by Kenji Tokitsu, who is a martial artist. And Musashi wrote his Book of Five Rings in the 17th century, kind of a meditation on swordsmanship, on single combat, and also war strategy. I do plan to kind of talk about this a little bit more when I do a video, hopefully very soon, on the historical novel, Musashi, historical fiction. So I'll save most of my thoughts for that, but this is what the back says. The Complete Book of Five Rings is an authoritative version of Musashi's classic The Book of Five Rings, translated and annotated by a modern martial arts master, Kenji Tokitsu. Tokitsu has spent most of his life researching legendary samurai swordsmen and his works, and in this book he illuminates this seminal text, along with several other works by Musashi. These include The Mirror of the Way of Strategy, which Musashi wrote when he was in his 20s, 35 Instructions on Strategy, and 42 Instructions on Strategy, which were precursors to the Book of Five Rings, and The Way to be Followed Alone, which Musashi wrote just days before his death. Read together, these five texts give readers an unusually detailed, nuanced view of Musashi's ideas on swordsmanship, strategy, and self-cultivation. Tokitsu puts these writings in historical and philosophical context and makes them accessible and relevant to today's readers and martial arts students. Tokitsu understands Musashi's writings and Musashi as a martial artist unusually well and is able to provide a rare insight into the man and his historical contribution. And I would agree with all that. I really found this quite a compelling read, despite, of course, how old it was. It wasn't meant to be read, or I should say Musashi didn't write to be compelling. But with Tokitsu's commentary, he has a really good introduction where he lays out a lot of the history to put things into context. And I am not a martial artist, but I do have an interest in martial arts, and there are certain things that I wouldn't mind trying, especially like Bokken training, stuff with the katana. So especially when I do get the opportunity, especially if any of these martial arts schools around me start opening up again, even for more outdoor dojo practice, I think I'm definitely going to return to this and get some more insight from it. But anyway, those were the 4 books that I recently got. I've got the Complete Book of Five Rings, The Lessons of History, The Mansion of Happiness, and The Day the World Came to Town. So if you've read any of these, I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right. Thanks, BookTube.